Good morning, students. I am Dr.R.SUGANYA, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science with Cybersecurity. Today we are going to see about the case study on software testing tools. Outline, terminology, the types of errors and how to deal with errors, quality assurance versus testing, components testing, unit testing like integration testing and testing strategy, design patterns and testing. And we have like system testing. So in system testing we have like function testing, structure testing, performance testing, acceptance testing and installation testing. Some observations we have like it is impossible to completely test any non-trivial module or any system. It is like theoretical limitations like halting problem, practical implementations are prohibitive in time and cost. Testing can only show the presence of bugs, not their absence, like Dikshitra. There are some total number of execution path. If we see here the flow chart, we can see like the loop have 200 times. So total number of execution paths we can we can predict. So testing activities like we have unit test, integration test, functional test. In unit test, the project can be like divided into many subsystem code. So we know. So when it is comes to integration test, it will be like system design document. And in functional testing, we'll have required analysis document and user manual. So these are all like so we had 3 testing activities. Okay, so this is the levels of testing for develop. Next is testing activities for the same developer, which continues for from functional testing to performance testing, then acceptance and installation testing. So we have like global requirements, client's understanding of requirements and user environment. Okay. So levels of testing in V model. So we have system requirement, software requirement, preliminary design, detailed design, code and debug, unit testing, component test, software integration, acceptance and system integration. So what will be the time taken for from the first level to last level? So we can have the level of abstractions to analyze and design and for testing to integration. Test planning. It covers all types and phases of testing. It guides the entire testing process, who, why, when, what. Okay, and it is developed as requirement, functional specification and high level designs are developed, should be done before implementation starts. A test plan includes test objectives, schedule and logistics, test strategies, test cases, procedures, data, expected results, procedures for handling problems. Fault handling techniques, which has fault avoidance, fault detection and fault tolerance. And design methodology, verification, configuration management and reviews. Testing, unit testing, integration testing and system testing. And we have debugging, correctness debugging, performance debugging, and fault tolerance, which includes atomic transactions and modular redundancy. Quality assurance encompasses testing. So we have like fault avoidance, like verification and configuration management. The reviews like walkthroughs and inspection. And fault detection, which has testings like unit testing, integration testing and system testing. And usability testing, we have scenario testing, prototype testing, product testing. In fault tolerance, we have atomic transactions and modular redundancy. And for debugging, we have correctness debugging and performance debugging. Types of testing, unit testing, individual subsystem, and it is also carried out by developers. The main goal is to confirm that subsystem is correctly coded and carries out the intended functionality. Integration testing, it is a groups of subsystem, collection of classes and eventually the entire system. It is carried out by developers. The main goal is to test the interface among the subsystem. System testing, it is like the entire system is carried out by developers, and the main goal is to determine if the system meets the requirements. Acceptance testing, so there are 2 kinds of acceptance testing. Okay, so evaluate the system is delivered by developers and it carried out by the client, and demonstrate that the system meets customer requirement. So implementation testing will go unit testing, write a little and test a little. So informal, incremental coding, static analysis like hand execution, reading the source code, walkthrough, code inspection, and automated tools will be checking for like mainly for syntactic and semantic errors and departure from coding standards. And dynamic analysis like black box testing, white box testing, and data structure based testing. So black box testing, input is valid across range of values. It selects test cases from three equivalence classes, below the range, within the range, and above the range. Input is valid if it is from a discrete set. Select test cases from two equivalence classes, valid discrete value and invalid discrete valued. Okay, so it gets knowledge about the inner workings of unit being tested. White box testing. It focuses thoroughness. Every statement in the component is executed at least once. There are four types of white box testing: statement testing, loop testing, path testing, and branch testing. Statement testing tests single statements. Loop testing, it causes execution of the loop to be skipped completely. Loop to be executed exactly once, and loop to be executed more than once. Path testing, it makes sure all paths in the program are executed. Branch testing, make sure that each possible outcome from a condition is tested at least once. Okay, so this is a loop testing. So white box testing, which why this loop testing is very important is like each and every module. So simple loop, nested loops we have, concatenated loops, and unstructured loops. So we have the coding tool. So here we can have the to find the mean, that is float mean, that is float is a variable. Okay, and we are going to store it in the file called score file, and it has been initialized sum of scores, number of scores, and mean value. So if it is the end of file, then it has if it is not end of the file, then it has to check that if the score value is greater than 0.0, then it has to add with the scores and number of scores, and again to read the score file. And if it is greater than 0, the mean value has to be, that is sum of scores divided by number of scores, and it has to print the mean value, else the number of scores should be found in the file. So this is what the computing value for white box testing. So here too, the mean, to find the mean value, so the same thing, to it has been initialized, and we are going to say if it is not equal to end of file, we are going to test the value. If it computes a mean and the result. Constructing the logic flow diagram, here we can see, and finding the test cases. So the flow chart is here. So the data set is empty, then we have to have the total score to be computed. Okay, so this is of how to find the test cases for a particular value. Okay, so comparison of white box and black box testing in which was done. So white box testing is potentially infinite number of paths that has to be tested. It often tests what is done instead of what should be done, so it cannot detect the missing use cases. A black box testing, it is like potential combinatorial explosion of test cases. It's often not clear whether the selected test case uncovered a particular error. It has not discovered extraneous use case. It has both type of testings, and it has the extreme ends of a testing continuum, and the number of possible logical paths, the nature of input data, the amount of computation, and the complexity of algorithms. So for test, so we have what, how, and how to develop the test cases and create the test for Oracle. So guidance for test case selection. So use the analysis knowledge, use the design knowledge, and use the implementation knowledge. And here we have the unit testing heuristics. So create unit tests as soon as object design is completed. Okay, so develop the test cases, cross check, desk check, create a test harness, describe the test oracle, execute the test case, and compare the result of the test with test oracle. Okay, thank you.